And welcome everyone to the SFL podcast presented to you exclusively by 8 p.m. Music. I am your host with my ever constantly fluctuating most rank, Jack Brown, fresh off a high school football game. So sorry if my voice does some weird things. I've even given myself an hour to rest it. But apart from that, we have the usual too. We have Ryan, we have Ramos, and we have the third R. We have the round table now. We have San Francisco quarterback Rob Robbie. Rob, your name's not starting to trip me up already. Rob, how are you doing here, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. I think really all this is convincing me is that I need to change my name to Rack, so I can keep the alliteration. You know what I mean? Well, if we want to go by technicalities here, Ramos is named Joel, so come on.
We got those pairs going.
the junior. It's like
There we go.
It's like that one band. Actually, fun fact: my mom was high school friends with one of the guys from Junior. I think the lead guy actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, now doing a hard line back to on topic. High school football starting off this week. Everybody, I know on the schedule reveal it probably said next week, but this week was how it was for up here. But along with high school football and Friday Night Lights for SFL, we got some other downright fantastic games to look forward to. First off, on Sunday, August 26th, we're going to be watching the New Orleans Pharaohs. I was about to say the New Orleans Hornets because, they're taking on Houston, and Hornets and Houston both start with the letter H. Thank you for watching Sesame Street today, everybody. Houston coming fresh off the bye, chilling. Which actually, Ryan, may I ask what Houston was doing on the bye? Were you guys just chilling out in Galveston?
I don't know if I speak for the rest of the team, but I was just wallowing in my self-pity after being defeated by Tallahassee. There was some pints of ice cream downed. There was a couple beers downed, and then I eventually just kind of came out of it, and here we are.
Did you eat any raw cookie dough?
Possibly, and it might have been mixed with ice cream as well.
Oh, I'll take both.
Chocolate chip cookie. Granted, that's a great flavor of ice cream.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
but I'm gonna go over to the other guy who I still haven't spoken to yet in the podcast, Ramos. So looking at this, New Orleans coming off the loss, Houston coming off the bye. What are you looking at for this game in particular?
I think this is gonna suit well for the Houston Hyenas. I think that the bye week will benefit them instead of affect them. I think they had a week to prepare and a week to scout this New Orleans team, and I think at home, the Houston Hyenas offense will put in a show. I think that they will be able to win this game convincingly. I like some stuff of the New Orleans Pharaohs. What I've seen, I like some stuff, but when I look at, sometimes their offense is, kind of not clicking, and it seems that they still need to find a lot of rhythm. Probably by the end of the season, they will find some carry on towards next year. But, right now, I think that Houston's bye week will be to their benefit, and I think the Hyenas will take it easily.
So, Ryan, at least you'll be able to get off with that big fat dub going on into next week, and you won't have to eat any more ice cream with raw cookie dough because that stuff has salmonella. Unless you buy like that actual raw cookie dough that you can buy just straight to eat out of the jar. They actually make that. It's really good. But anyways, we're gonna be moving for a cross conference battle between the St. Louis Gladiators. We'll talk about how well they did last week in around 5 seconds. And they're going to be taking on the Denver Nightwings. The Nightwings lost to Vancouver on the road. And St. Louis, what could be described as greater than a loss? Like, how would you guys describe that personally?
I don't even know, honestly. It was devastation. I don't know what else to call that. They came out completely flat, and it just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think that the only thing that the Gladiators have going on right now for them is the fact that they have a number 4 ranked quarterback who is still putting up big numbers with the losses. But 62 to 3 is just it's heartbreaking. You know, so
Yeah, 59 point loss is never fun. Um, so Ryan, I'm gonna swing this over to you here since you decided to make the first comment on St. Louis's. I don't know how to describe it.
Misfortunes, I guess.
St. Louis's misfire.
There we go.
Um, how how would you say St. Louis is going to come back from that? And I mean, really, this isn't much about Denver. I think really the main storyline going into this is how is St. Louis going to recover?
Well, I mean, after being tossed into the Thunderdome and just thrashed around it and getting the thumbs down and everything from Caesar, I mean, the Gladiators, it's going to be a tough one. I mean, Denver's got a really good defense. They've been pretty well up there. Their offense has been hit or miss, but they have been getting better over the last few weeks. Granted, I mean, last week they only did score, I believe it was 10 points. I don't see that happening very often as they go forward. Jeremy Vega over there in Denver has done pretty well, kind of getting the team sorted out. But the big thing for St. Louis has got to be that defense. They've got to keep that Denver offense from scoring those points. They got to get those turnovers that they were doing so well in the beginning of the season. And it's the other part of that as well is they got to get that quarterback running back combo going again. A little Dylan Asil back there as a quick QB, and it's Denzel Diaz back there as running back, and I believe he has the nickname Mighty Mouse, and he's got to start living up to that nickname. He's got to start running guys over, getting out in the open field, and then making guys miss. So hopefully they can find that out and kind of work themselves into a win. But I think I'm going to take Denver in this one still. I'm not sure if St. Louis will be able to bounce back. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But I feel Denver's defense will just kind of stifle that offense a little bit more this week and won't make the offense have to work so hard for Denver to pull out a win.
Yeah, I mean, I, I, yeah. That's how you stumble over your words there, folks. I'm still coming off of some craziness from high school football. Anyways, heading over now down south. We're going down to Florida, where Dallas, after losing to freaking Tulsa, congratulations there, guys. Greatest football team in the SFL. They're heading down to Tallahassee, Florida. Tallahassee, well, they've done Tallahassee. They barely beat OKC. Is this surprising anybody here? No, it's never surprising. They have won. But yeah,
um,
so with that, hey, Rob, do you feel as if this game's gonna be very important for either Tallahassee or Dallas, or do you think that just things are gonna go wrong for both teams?
I mean, obviously, the Tallahassee Pride are just a great team. I mean, number two ranked power ranking team, going into week 7, and I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Dallas. Obviously, I mean, they're like what ranked at the very bottom, something like ranked number, what do we have? Number 17. And so I don't think anyone's really looking for them to do too much against Tallahassee. But again, we have to go back to those quarterbacks, and I see that Shabazz Synergy is the number one ranked quarterback right now. And let's hope that he can get something going against those Pride. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a difficult game for them, like it's been for everybody who's faced the Pride this year.
Yeah, I mean, OKC came very close last week, but much like Atlanta, they just kind of threw it all away, and now they're kind of relegated to fifth place. While Tulsa, they've been rising up to the middle of the pack, and Dallas, they said they've remained competitive. Just they can't win games, and really, when it comes to playoff time, they're gonna first look at that win loss record before they look at your point difference. And so next up, we actually have Atlanta heading up to Tulsa, and I've been talking about how Tulsa has been really kind of on the come up over the last couple of weeks. Granted, they're taking on some of the weakest teams in the South, winning 27-7 at New Orleans and winning 34-23 at home against the Dallas Lobos team that's in the second year of what I guess you could call a rebuild. Atlanta, they're currently second in the South. However, they're only I think a half game ahead of Houston. So really, it's more like you're tied for second, and you need to win this game. So, heading over to Ramos, do you think that Tulsa is going to be able to keep up momentum at home, or do you think that Atlanta is going to keep up their momentum and looking for a potential playoff spot?
I like what Tulsa has done this past few weeks. Their defense has been playing better than they did at the beginning of the season. But I think Atlanta, even though they are in the on the road, I think that they still have the upper hand in this one. I think it's gonna be, you know, Dunhill giving the ball to BDG Hollywood all game, and sometimes throw the ball to Siege Falco and you know Boo Chisholm and whatnot. But I think it's gonna be BDG pretty much controlling this game. If Tulsa wants to win this game, for them to win, I think they need to run the ball as well and just keep the ball out of Marcus Dunhill's hands. I think they need to run the ball effectively between the tackles and not throw interceptions, which is going to be very important since Atlanta has very good secondary with Pat Ketsa and Mahmoud Ashlauni, and they have Aaron Lee. They have very good defenders, so I think that Tulsa needs to keep the ball on the ground, and with that, you might be looking at a game where Tulsa can control the pace of the game, and they might win this ball game. However, I think that Atlanta will be able to control the ball on their own with BDG Hollywood and with short passes by Marcus Dunhill. So I think Atlanta will win this game.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of Ramos is saying, also, Tulsa's also given up 124 yards rushing on the ground a game, and so I'm looking for BDG to have a big game, and more than likely it's going to tip in favor of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised if Tulsa wins this one, but I think the cards are clearly stacked in Atlanta's favor. So now we head out west. Well, the Northwest at that, as the Vancouver Legion heads up to the, I guess, slightly more cold Anchorage, Alaska, to take on the Alaska Storm. Vancouver, obviously, coming off a win. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But they're going up against Alaska, who are probably the best team in the league, just bar none. No questions asked. I'm sorry, they're just the best. So Rob, since no matter what, I'm gonna have to force Ryan to talk about the game after this. Who do you think is gonna come out on top in this edition of, I guess, as they call it, the Northwest Derby?
I don't think you're supposed to bet against the champ, man. 6-0. Alaska doesn't look like they're going down this season. I mean, I have to put my cards with Alaska. I'm not really sure about what's going on with Vancouver. 2-4. They also are giving up a lot of, not a lot of passing yards, about 206 yards a game. Rushing yards, they're only giving up about 91 yards a game. Alaska is just a hard hitting team, a hard nosed team. They're averaging something like 400 yards passing a game. Cochran is looking really, really good. I mean, he's what did he have last week? 400 yards and 4 touchdowns or something like that. So, I don't know, man. We'll see what the Legion's defense can do. But it looks like the Storm are going to be victorious here.
Yeah, I mean, again, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I would be surprised if Vancouver won this. That would be insane. And I said previously that I would have to get Ryan to talk about this next one. Well, it's because it's between Mexico City and San Francisco. That eliminates three of us from being even in contention to talk about this game without having a dog in the fight.
All right, let me at you guys. Come on.
Okay, because no matter what you say, you're gonna offend someone in this call right now.
No, I'm to be 100% honest. I do have to go with Mexico. Just my first gut instinct. The defense there that you guys have over there is really, really top notch in my opinion. You guys are only fourth in points allowed. You're down there towards I guess down there in yards allowed per game, but top there for actual defense. Um, San Francisco, they've had a really good look since you came onto the team. I mean, you kind of lit a spark underneath of them, and I mean, I could see this one actually becoming more of kind of a little defensive slugfest, and not specifically because of the Sharks' defense, but partially because I feel that the Mexico City offense is a little more inept. Not to say that Matt
How
Wilson or
dare
Ray
you say
Bentley,
that?
I know, right? Not to say that Matt Wilson or Ray Bentley are by slouches by any mean. It's just some of the stuff hasn't quite clicked. You guys have had to rely on Cole Varner quite a bit more than I'm sure you guys even want to. He does have that golden leg, man. I mean, I think he's scored 9 field goals in the last like 3 games, maybe even more than that. But I feel that the Mexico City defense will kind of go punch for punch with the San Francisco offense, and then it's going to be the opposite over there. on the Mexico City offense against the Sharks defense. The Sharks they've got a decent defense hanging out there. They have allowed quite a few points per game, but they don't allow as many yards passing per game. The big problem there is their rushing defense, in which, I mean, this could be the game that Ray Bentley really takes off, and if he does early and often, I could see Mexico City running away from it. It's just right now, with looking at the history of the team's offenses and defenses, I feel like this could be a low scoring, kind of a little bit of a slugfest type game. But I give the edge to Mexico City just based strictly on that defense. I mean, allowing the fourth fewest points per game is nothing to scoff at all.
Okay, and who do you want that check made out to?
Let's see. We can make that out to Cameron Irvine, and just call it season 12 progression.
Hey, Jack, can I respond to that real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, just to respond to that, I think that people will want to look out for in this game versus the Aztecs and the Sharks. You want to look out for the ground game and look at what Bentley is going to be able to do. But you also want to know that that while they have a Bentley going on over there, we have a Cadillac in Ogunzulu, and he's slow churning and everything, but he can get up and get some good yardage. When we're able to make lanes for him. So you want to look at the running game and see how that's going to go. I think both of these teams are kind of struggling a little bit on offense, a little bit. Defense is definitely going to be a big factor here. So I think it's going to be a good game of contention and contestation over the field. And so it might be one of those low scoring games, man, like a good old 24-17 or 21-17-18 kind of ball game. So
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
agree with that. Probably around 14-17 is what I was kind of thinking.
yeah. I mean, every Mexico City game has kind of been a low-scoring slugfest, apart from last week against Vegas.
Yeah.
But with that, we now head into the prime time. First off, that Sunday night, we have Oklahoma City heading up to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or as I used to call that city, Sioux Falls, because I don't know why. I was just stupid, and I was like 7. Yeah, we can all laugh at 7-year-old Jack right now.
That's all right. I used to call mashed potatoes cakes, and Mount Rushmore were trolls to me.
Yeah, and I thought that Cheetos were carrots.
Okay, never mind. You got me.
Yeah. No, that's what I seriously called them. Anyways, besides that, apart from all that fun stuff, Rams, we're gonna start over here with you. Looking at this is a big primetime game for both the teams because Sioux Falls, I think they have an opponent here who can really show what they are at heart. Do you think that's gonna be kind of what happens, or does Oakley C, sure that's what their name is now, really come to life here?
I think it's gonna be depending on how good Ronnie Nickens is able to sling the ball around because I don't think they will be able to run the ball much against this stacked Sioux Falls run defense. Historically the Sioux Falls run defense is really, really great. So I think it's gonna be again depending on Tiberius Bobine and Hunter Jones to beat them over the top and make some explosive plays. As far as Sioux Falls, they need to find a run game with Colin Hart. I think they have to run the ball outside to make him go in the open space and try to make some people miss. And we know how Colin Hart just lowers his shoulders and runs over people. So I think it's gonna be a game where we will see two very offensive approaches and see which one comes out on top. I think that Oklahoma City will try to beat them over the top deep, whilst I think that Sioux Falls will try to run the ball more to the outside. So, very intrigued for this game. Oklahoma City got a win, so that's always good. And this division is very tough contested. You have OKC that they are 2-4 or whatever, but when you look at it, they are just about 1.5 spot from third place Houston. So this is a game where if they get a win, they can get closer to being a contender as well as Sioux Falls at 3-2. They're just right behind us. They're 3-2, we're 4-1. So if Sioux Falls wins and if we trip, for example, Sioux Falls got us. So I think this is gonna be a game where both teams will put everything on the table, and I think it's gonna be um, an offensive festival. I think both teams will score many many points, and we'll see a great game overall. I think that Sioux Falls will be able to pull in the fourth quarter, maybe something around 34-31.
And
Oh.
let's remember the last time they said that a primetime game with Sioux Falls is going to be high scoring.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was high scoring for Alaska, so.
That's my point.
He got part of it
so we
right.
to to
half of it.
piggyback off Ramos too. I agree that Sioux Falls more than likely is going to come out passing. But one thing that I'm noticing is that they have 10 turnovers on offense this year. And Tulsa's defense hasn't. I don't know. I'm sorry. OKC's defense hasn't taken away any balls this year. So that's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic there. Between offense and defense. One with a high-powered offense that's given up, a lot of. It seems like almost 1 to 2 turnovers a game, and then you have a defense that doesn't have any really takeaways and stuff. So that'll be kind of interesting to see what goes
Well,
on
no,
there.
who do you think's going to win? Because we have to do this best out of three for prime time.
Oh man, I would say that we're gonna look, and I think we're gonna see Sioux Falls get this one.
And so with that, we have 2-0 in favor of Sioux Falls for this game. Well, Ryan, you're the final decider to see if this is a clean sweep or if someone's going to pick OKC.
Uh, I'm gonna build off of what Ramos said on the OKC offense. They gotta have Deacon Nickens. He's gonna take care of the ball. He's gonna get that ball to Tiberius Vobine and Hunter Jones. They gotta go over the top. I don't see them getting much on the ground game with J.W. Doyle in this one. So Sioux Falls, I mean, they look like the popular pick, but I'm not usually one to stay with the popular. I am gonna go with OKC on this one. I say Sioux Falls, they allow 18 points a game. In OKC, they're allowing, oh, let's see, they're allowing about 30 points a game. So I mean, it's very possible that Sioux Falls could easily just handily win this one. But I'm feeling I got something on my gut that's just telling me that the OKC offense is going to be able to go over the top of Sioux Falls this week, and I'm gonna pick the upset.
Ooh, okay. So 2-1 favor Sioux Falls there. Then we go back to Friday night, or I guess tonight. We got the Queen City. I'm just going to call them the Lions because they slaughtered some Gladiators last week. Heading off to Indianapolis to take on the Red Devils, who have not been having the best of seasons. Certainly not quite the hype they're expecting from last season, going 6-6. So once again, it's time to head around the round table. The round table. So Ramos, looking at this, do you think Queen City is going to keep up this just rampage that's been going on, or is Indy going to finally right the ship that is their season?
No, I think they will. I mean, Queen City is number one in points allowed per game, just allowing 13.8 points per game, and their defense looks really stout, and their offense, just combined as a team, put up 62 points this past week. So I mean, there's I don't think a way to say why Queen City will not be able to build off of that. I think that Queen City, obviously, this time will not be able to score 60, but I think they will be able to win on the road against Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been a team that's been pretty quiet this season, um, but at 1-5. So I think that Queen City will just go ahead and win this game by double digits. Uh, and I think that Ash Odom will be able to run for maybe about 180 yards, 200 yards on them, to be honest with you. So I will go ahead and pick Queen City by double digits, probably about, I don't know, 35-21.
All right, so that's 1-0 in favor of Queen City to the second R of this. Oh god, I just lost my ability to do my R's. Rob, so looking at this, do you agree with Ramos that Queen City is going to come out victorious, or are you giving the upset pick?
If I had to say an upset, I would say that Keith Swearingen has a big day against QCC, and Indy wins this game. However, um, he hasn't been doing too well. I think I'm going to go with Ramos and say that QCC is going to probably destroy Indy this week if Indy can't move the ball on the ground. I mean, Tom Pepper's doing a good job passing. I mean, he's second as far as completion percentage, of 76.62 passing average. So I mean, he seems to be doing pretty great. But it seems like that run game is not being effective for them. So unless they can get both Tom and Keith going, I think QCC gets this win.
All righty, and so finally we go to Rebel Ryan. who picked the Renegades. There's all sorts of alliteration here on the SFL podcast. Don't say that the SFL podcast is not worth listening because it doesn't have alliteration. Um, so Rebel Ryan, are you going to go with the Red Devils, or will you think that the Queen City Corsairs will race around the Indianapolis Red Devils?
So this game is kind of interesting to me. The Red Devils, they actually have the best passing defense in the SFL through the first 7 weeks. Um, and on the flip side, the Queen City Corsairs actually have the best rushing defense in the SFL through the first 6 weeks. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this game plays out for both those offenses. I mean, just looking at it on paper, Queen City is going to try to make the Red Devils beat them through the air with the arm of Tom Pepper, who started out having a great season, but has kind of fallen apart over the last couple weeks. Ash Odom for over in the Corsairs, he could have quite the game for them, because Indy does allow 130, which is some of the higher 130 yards per game, which is some of the higher yards per game allowed through the first 6 weeks. I feel like Queen City is going to just lean on him and just kind of give AJ Caswell basically a day off, and just pound the ball constantly up the gut or around the outside of the Red Devils. And I uh, I can't this time I can't really put my money on the upset. I could see it happening, but I just Queen City coming off of a really big week, and I agree they're not going to probably put up 60, but I could say they're probably going to put up around 35, maybe 40 points. And I'm not sure the Indy offense is going to be able to keep up with that. So I'm gonna go with Queen City.
Okay, now we head off to Carolina for another edition of the Eggplant Bowl between London and Carolina. And I guess now Mexico City is wrapped up in it because there's an image of me handing over the eggplant to Liam from the convention. So I guess now we're a part of this, Ramos.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
there's another picture of you just kind of
Oh
protecting it
boy.
on the table, man. I mean, you look like you really got to keep a hold of that.
Oh god.
I have no idea like what the context of that image was. Just Liam sat down next to me for some reason, and now those images exist. The photographer took some weird pictures. At the point, especially of me, like that one of me shouting, "I look like an idiot." Um.
And
Anyways,
on that note, make sure you guys check out the pictures.
yeah, they're available on the Discord server. Just go to SFL alerts, scroll up a little bit, and you'll find those. There's 338 of them. I think like 200 from Friday night, and it's a good way for Ramos to really feel guilty about not attending the convention.
Oh,
Anyways,
Oh well.
Ramos, I know you're going to be calling this game, so I'm not going to have you do a pick, but just kind of like look at this game and see kind of like what's going to happen. Then I'll probably infer a pick from there.
I think that, when you look at it, Tristan Carr has been able to get a lot of catches. Was looking at some stats, especially individual stats, and he's towards the top in the entire SFL in catches, just trailing Mike Osai, who is a dark horse for league MVP, through about 6 games. He has already like 90 catches. And Tristan Carr is I think like 25 catches behind. I think he has like 65 catches this season. So it's going to be about if Carolina can stop that middle of the field, Tristan Carr, just running those slant routes and those post routes. As far as Carolina goes, I love what their defense have done all season long. They only allowed about 14 points per game, which is second best in the SFL. So I think that Carolina at home will be able to win again and sweep the series and go 6-0. Nobody thought at the beginning of the season probably that Carolina was going to go 6-0, but I just love how the defense is playing. I think they have a very good running back, and overall they have been, what I've said in previous podcasts, they have been able to come up in the clutch and finish ball games, and this is what I love from the Carolina Skyhawks, and this is what makes the difference between a good team and a great team to be able to win in that fourth quarter and just seal the game. So I will go with the Skyhawks probably, because I will still go ahead. I will be calling the game, but just to put in a prediction, just for the podcast sake, I think that Carolina will be able to pull away in the fourth quarter and maybe win about 24-20.
Alrighty, and so now we send it over to you, Robbie. Who do
Okay.
you think is going to take this one in Carolina?
Man, I think I got Carolina taking this one. I mean, the big issue with London right now is the fact that they're averaging 17.5 rushing yards a game, man. Last week they had 3 yards on the ground. They actually had 4 yards in the first half and then 3 yards in the second half. Or I'm sorry, went down to 3 yards in the second half. So I don't think if these guys can't get the ball moving on the ground, I think it's over for them. We're not gonna forget Mr. James Hands. It's on the other end. We got Tristan, we got James, but I don't think the passing game is working out for them. I mean, they're number two in passing yards in the league, but they're 1-5, man. So I think that the defense definitely needs to stand up and 24 turnovers to 6 turnovers from Carolina. So there's something going on with the scheme in there. So I think it's going to tip in favor of the Skyhawks here.
Alrighty, now Rebel Ryan. London is the birthplace of punk, essentially, apart from, well, New York. Are you going to go with the Knights here, or are you going to stick with everybody here and pull a podcast sweep for Carolina?
I gotta stick with the podcast sweep here. Carolina's defense is, I mean, much. I'm a defensive guy. I mean, I play cornerback. It's what I want to do. It's what I love to do. I love to hit people. I love to just keep that offense to a stagnant halt. And Carolina's defense has just been lights out, honestly. The only blemish I could see against them is that they allow 107 yards rushing a game. But on the counterpoint, London is the worst rushing team in the SFL so far, at 17 yards of carries. I mean, Rob brought that up already, and I mean, Carolina outside of that, they allow only 223 yards passing a game. They allow only 14 points a game. That's second. That's basically second in the league for points in the game, and for passing, that's only fifth best. That's fifth best in the league. So I mean, their defense is really, really good. They do have the turnover differential of 4, so they've gotten 4 more than they've taken away, and they've taken away 10 of them. So they definitely have a way of keeping Jacques Luyendula in a groove, and he can take care of that ball really easily. And I mean, you can't sleep on that running back, that Monstead, AJ Francis back there. He's a beast in his own right, and then if you don't keep an eye on him, he will take over a game. I mean, it's plain and simple truth, honestly. He's had games where he's done just lights out. I mean, they average 133 yards a game. Louis Ndula, although he's been taking care of the ball, he is a little bit on the lower side of yards per game of 209. But for me, I love defense. The defense of Carolina is one of those probably top 3 defenses right now. And I bet they're just licking their chops going up against the team that's got the lowest rush yards per game and also the most turnovers, basically in the entire SFL through the first 6 weeks. And I feel I don't think it's gonna be quite on the level of the Queen City 62-3, but I think it's gonna be pretty one-sided.
Alrighty, so podcast sweep right there, folks. And finally, on Monday, for some reason, Chicago is heading off to Baltimore for the fan night game of the week. Ramos, one last time. Give us a pick. Who's it going to be, Chicago or B-More?
I will go with B-More. I love their defense. I think that Amon Takes and Joe Dassa will be able to control the running back pretty well. I think that the secondary with Thornberry and those guys will be able to contain that passing attack. And on the flip side, I think that T. Roy Gaines will be able to run the ball between the tackles, and I think that Baltimore will take it at home. Um, just because of that run defense alone, and because I think that T. Roy Gaines is a monster. So I will go with Baltimore again. If they are able to score about 20 points, I think they will have this game. So I will go with 20-14.
Okay, so now we headed over to Robbie. Rob, who's going to take this one right here?
This is gonna be an interesting one, man. I don't know, man. I'm gonna tell you, man. This is what I'm gonna say. I'm for whoever comes to play, but Cass McFly is looking like an elite cornerback in the SFL, and I think you need to watch out for that guy right there. Did you guys see what he did last week against who was that they played? London? Was it London? Yeah. Did you guys see what he did at the end of the game there?
Nah, I didn't get a chance to catch it. Go ahead. Let me
Oh,
know. Let me
oh,
know.
man, he sealed. I believe he sealed the deal. I could be no, I don't think I'm wrong. He sealed the deal with an interception late, with a minute left or under 30 seconds left in the game. and just sealed it with an interception. I think he had two or three picks. I could be wrong, or maybe the defense had three picks, but he's just been coming up really really big for that secondary there, and I think that he's someone that you really really have to look out. He's definitely a shutdown corner, and I'm excited to just see that guy. He's only been in the league for a couple of weeks now, but I'm excited to see that guy get underway and see what he can do. But that was a crazy game last week, and he just came up really really big at the end of the game there, man.
All righty, so looks like we got some pretty big picks right here. And so finally, Ryan, who are you gonna go with?
I'm gonna go with Baltimore too. It's one of my favorite cities, and I don't I didn't get a chance to see the interception, but I do know that through the first three quarters, both teams, it was basically let's see, 21 points going for Baltimore, and I want to say about 20 points ish for London, and then that fourth quarter, both offenses just caught fire, and they combined for 43 points, with Baltimore being able to come out on top 38-42. Um, it They did kind of get that defense to step up. It looks like towards the end, and I wish I could have seen that interception that Rob was talking about. Um, but just looking at the stats specifically for these two teams, Baltimore has a pretty middle of the road defense. They allow just under 100 yards of rushing a game, uh, about 25 yards under for passing yards a game. They do allow some of the lower points per game in the league at a 21.83, and that puts them right around the top 10, possibly just outside, maybe just inside. I'm not sure exactly looking at it. Um, the one knock I could put against them also is they've only got a the entire team, not just the defense. The turnover different I can't say that word for some reason. Turnover differential, they only are positive one, and that's with 17 takeaways. So they've given the ball away 16 times. If you're going to be competitive in this league, you got to be able to take care of the ball. Um, Being at 3-3, I think it kind of reflects their ability to also to take care of the ball and their kind of their defense and offense. They've got to get kind of a balance there. They got to have both of them show up at the same time, and they got to get some more turnovers. On the excuse me, on the flip side of it, I can just see Chicago. They're kind of working their way back up there. They had a rough go of it starting off the season. Um, I, I don't believe it's two wins in a row for them. No, I don't believe so. But I mean, sitting at 2-3 after their bye week also, um, they their offense has been doing actually pretty decently. Their defense, the rush defense leaves a little bit more to be desired. 115 a game, so this could be a very easily become a game of grind it out, run it down each other's throats, and whoever happens to stand up the longest or be the last man standing after fatigue and injuries and who knows what else could happen. Uh, there could be riots. I mean, who knows? It's Baltimore. You never know what's going to happen, honestly. But I feel Baltimore is going to be that gritty defense, that gritty team that's just going to tough it out to the end. And it possibly could even come down to the last minute where maybe a field goal or a last second touchdown could seal the game for one team in one way or another. So I'm going to go Baltimore. I'd probably go with around 21-24, somewhere around in that area.
Yeah, and I just want to
Alrighty.
make a correction that it was one interception by Cass, but one thing that I like to look at and I do this a lot with defensive players is when I don't see a whole lot going on with like a DB as far as the stat wise, that lets me know that that's a shutdown player, especially with a cornerback. And Kaz he had around one interception against Queen City, and then he was kind of quiet against Mexico City. They got that loss barely, and then they won against the Gladiators, and then against London, he was kind of active and everything. But that just kind of lets me know that this quarterback is a cornerback. I'm sorry, is a shutdown corner, and I think that's going to be something that's going to help out Baltimore against Chicago this week.
Alrighty. And so with that, thanks for tuning into this edition of the SFL podcast presented to you exclusively by APM Music through the magical wonders of YouTube. I'm Jack Brown, as always, your host with the ever fluctuating amount of mostness. And on behalf of Ryan, Ramos, and Robbie, we say thank you and have a great weekend full of SFL football.